This tutorial is a continuation of our previous tutorial on creative application of adding variability using PinkAI's built-in LFOs. Here, we'll be looking at how to use the rectangle or square wave LFOs to add rhythmic subdivision variation to generate some compelling and natural melodies. We'll be using this Omnisphere preset, Soaring Triangle Lead, to demonstrate. Right now, you hear half notes being consistently generated, and as we add an LFO to this subdivision parameter, you'll hear a variety of different subdivisions. You may see the parameter change more frequently than you hear notes change. For example, if a whole note is generated and you see the subdivision change through 8th or 16th notes, you have to wait until the whole note is complete until you hear the new subdivision that is active at that moment. Your rectangle or square wave oscillator is a binary position oscillator, meaning it will regularly switch between two different fixed points on any given parameter rather than ramp back and forth continuously. This is especially useful for navigating changes in drop-down parameters. Here, I've adjusted my amount and offset so that the rectangle oscillator alternates between half and quarter note subdivisions. You'll notice throughout this demo that I'm going to set most of my LFO rates to sync mode, and by setting the rate to 2, the LFO will oscillate one full cycle over the course of 2 measures. If you're applying this concept of LFO Inception, that is, placing an LFO on another LFO's parameters while setting all the rates equal and sync to live tempo, you can get really nice variability within your LFO sync length, in this case 2 measures, but predictability as your LFO patterns repeat every 2 measures. Here I've pointed LFO2 to the sync rate of the subdivision square wave LFO so that the rate of change from half to quarter notes isn't always fixed. I'm now going to use another rectangle LFO to point towards the LFO1's offset, that is, for the subdivision. This will enable each binary state of LFO3 to change the range of subdivision alternation on LFO1 from half note and quarter notes to 8th and 16th notes. I'm fine-tuning this offset to get it just right. Once it's there, you should see half note, quarter note, 8th note, and 16th note subdivisions appear from the subdivision dropdown. So far, I've told one binary state to play either half or quarter notes. I've used the rectangle LFO to move that previous binary state to either 8th and 16th notes, but now I want another state that might play either quarter or 8th notes. So I'm going to finish by adding one more rectangle LFO that points to LFO3's offset, which repositions LFO1's offset amount to offer that additional binary state of quarter and 8th notes. And now you can see all half, quarter, 8th, and 16th notes being selected automatically from the subdivision dropdown. Strong melodies use chord tones, that is, notes that belong to the chord, more often than not, but a melody with only chord tones may start to get bland and predictable. So we're going to add one more group of LFOs to incorporate both chord and scale tones. Here I'm a little less interested in the predictability of when a chord or a scale tone may be generated, so I'm setting the synced rate to just half note triplets. Your scale mode will ultimately generate chord tones as well, but it has a handful of tones that are in between the chord tones. But because I still want a heavier balance of chord tones than scale tones, I've adjusted my amount and offset to weight more heavily on the chord mode dropdown. That said, I love natural variability and expression, so I'm going to add an LFO to point towards this chord scale LFO's offset, so that maybe on occasion you'll get a greater weight of scale tones, or on occasion a greater weight of chord tones. The LFO visualizer is currently displaying all the states of the subdivision dropdown, and you see the dropdown moving accordingly. With all of these interdependent LFOs, oftentimes changing one parameter can have large effects. I'm going to play around here with LFO4's offset, which points to LFO3's offset, which controls the binary state alternation range of the subdivision parameter. Watch the LFO visualizer and subdivision parameter respond accordingly while you hear the instantaneous melodic changes. I've got an alternate form of this LFO configuration set up on this melody 2 chain, where instead of using the sync rate, I've used the Hertz rate. The result is typically more variation and less predictability, but really depends on how you set up all the parameters. I'll alternate between these two for a moment. Thanks again for watching this tutorial. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest tutorial releases, Shut Eye Sunday live sessions, and other content we create. Happy composing!